Michelle Kennedy, and this is Real Quick, a shortcast, that's what I've decided to call it, devoted to an essay every few days. I'd love to say every day, but I just can't always quite get there. Sometimes I write and read my own essays, and sometimes I read essays written by others. I hope to soon have other writers who would like to read their own essays on the show and chat about them with me a bit after. I am a huge fan of essays of all sorts, and truthfully, I get tired of literary essays and highfalutin journals being the only ones I hear about. I think the essay is a truly underrated art form. It takes research, thought, processing, synthesizing, and more research to bring about a truly great essay. Others just take some thought. Either way, the pondering of an idea out loud in writing so that others might ponder that idea has always been fascinating to me. The first essays I read, way back when I was a kid, were found in books like the Norton Anthology and collections of essays my father had lying around the house. My father was a voracious reader and frequently left books out and stocked our bookshelves with great authors. I started to seek out essays by my favorite authors like Hemingway, Atwood, and eventually David Sedaris and Sarah Vowell. Masters of the essay they are. I found some of my first success as an author in essay form, and the inspiration for my very first book was the result of my first successful essay published at Salon.com. As a writer, I have had some great successes and the chance to read my essays on NPR and even local radio. Dorothy Parker is one of my great inspirations, and I often feel, as she did, that I often hate writing, but I love having written. I love to write, and I hate it sometimes. I'm compelled to do it always, whether or not anyone ever reads it or hears it. I also love to read. I loved to read first. In reading, I found my voice, and in one of my marriages, it was silenced again. I had to rediscover my love for reading, my love for writing, and my own voice. I hope you'll join us in discovering all sorts of writing, real quick. This essay is entitled Crone, and it's by me, Michelle Kennedy. Crone. You're becoming like an old crone, he said. My ex. I was probably about 38. He said it to be funny, like funny, but mean. He knew I was struggling with getting older, bit of an almost 40 midlife crisis, and I was offended, seriously offended, also really hurt. He frequently made comments about women's bodies, and so it stung to hear me go on the list. I caught a glimpse of myself in a car window not long after, and the reflection, plus the shadows, the tinted glass, let me really see what I knew to be my old face. I could see where the wrinkles would come and where the hair would turn. I was horrified. Back then, at 38-ish, I was horrified at what I might look like in 10 years. 20. I'm not sure why. I don't think I've ever been particularly vain, but also I know I am in some ways. I've been makeup free most of my life, but not because I think I look so great without it. Mostly because between the effort involved and the feeling of stuff on my face, I just never wanted to do it and opted to just like how I look without it. On the rare occasions that I have put on some makeup in my life, people notice, Michelle, oh my God, are you wearing makeup? To such an alarming degree that I decided I never wanted to call attention like that to my face again. But that has little to do with aging. Still, though, I have enjoyed relatively clear skin and a somewhat cute face for most of my life, and seeing what will inevitably happen kind of shocked me. I'm just not ready yet. I certainly wasn't ready then. My hair started to turn gray in my 40s. The first few in my 20s I just plucked from my head, but then they started to come a little more regularly. My sideburns, the little spot near my cowlick under my bangs. I tried to dye my hair. It looked worse. And then I started to notice older women who were clearly going through what I was going through and dyeing their hair. And every woman I saw with a hair dye job was going through whatever stage of the gray growing back that I was. God, It was tedious. And just like with makeup, it is a constant effort to which I do not want to devote any time. So, realizing that my true nature, especially when it comes to matters of looks, especially on me, is just to keep it clean and tidy and let it go, it was going to have to work for my hair as well as my face. So my hair is going gray, and I try to keep it tidy and clean. My face is starting to wrinkle, and I try to keep it clean and moisturized. Now, my body is becoming the next area I've tried to accept, and it's the part of me I've been the hardest on over the years. I have explored every eating disorder known to humans as an option for weight loss, and have berated myself because I am a miserable failure at all of them. I am not a small person. I was a pretty normal-sized kid, but somewhere in my tweens, my genetic code took over and I became a peasant, like part Anglican, part German, part Italian, large woman with hips and shoulders that could move, well, lots of children. And they have. And while I was not fat, really, I was overweight, according to every guide that was ever published about a girl's height to weight ratio. Mine never matched, and so I carried the label of overweight for most of my life. No matter how strong I am, how many bags of dog food I can lift, or how many miles I can hike on snowshoes, I will always be overweight in the eyes of society and the eyes of my doctors. It bothered me forever. It still bothers me, clearly. I have never thought that I couldn't lose at least 10 more pounds. At least. I have always worried about it through 12 pregnancies and 8 births and all that goes with that. I have always been on some sort of diet. For the last 35 years, I've never been happy with my body. But Crone? Crone. All I can see is a bent-over old woman with tangled, long, gray hair. And what? A little hut in the woods? A big, scary, haunted house like Manse? Why do I picture only wicked witchery when I hear the word crone? So what is a crone, anyway? Well, if you're me, you have to go and find out. So, according to the internet, in folklore, a crone is an old woman who may be characterized as disagreeable, malicious, or sinister in manner, often with magical or supernatural associations that can make her either helpful or obstructive. According to kintsugi, a wellness community devoted to that Japanese art of embracing imperfections and making them beautiful again, in the pecking order of female archetypes, the crone always seemed the least desirable final destination. Following the thrusting vibrancy of the blossoming and blooming maiden stage and the beautiful divine creativity of the mother phase, the crone felt like a step down, a reduction, a celebration of knowledge perhaps, but mostly a stooped being lacking the fire and beauty of her former iterations. Maiden, mother, crone. I have been all 3 now, and more. And the word crone sounded harsh for what I was to become one day. How could it not be an ugly old woman with a wart on her nose and a cauldron in her kitchen? Every Disney movie has their crone, and I definitely did not aspire to that. But why not? Why not aspire to be the crone? Old women, it seems, become invisible after a while, and maybe being or embracing the inner crone is really how you get to the end. And there is an end. At the end of the day, that's what's looming. And I am starting to wonder if becoming the crone that, according to kintsugi, represents our trust in wisdom held within, gathered through our lives and experiences, and which in the later stage of life makes us most open and confident. Man, that sounds awesome. I am starting to think that is what is most true. While I sometimes feel at my most useless at this age, 52, I also feel at my most confident about many things. I have experienced so much at this point that it's hard not to feel very been there, done that about a lot of it. I'm changing that now. I am trying to push myself outside of my comfort zone while allowing myself to wallow when I need to. I'm just letting my body be what it is. I hike, I snowshoe, I run, I swim. I eat a very restricted diet most of the time because of inflammation. I'm drinking way less than I used to. I have indulged in new self-care rituals because I am 52 years old now, and I want to. I want to stop feeling like being an old woman is going to be a bad thing. I have decided to indulge the old me. Whether other people like it or not, I want to take more hot baths. I want to take on my 50s and 60s and 70s and beyond and get some shit done. And I want to write about it because I love writing. And I'm tired of people who have reviewed my books or whatever dictating how worthy I feel to contribute my voice. I don't know if anything I write or have ever written will ever really matter, but I do know that I have had an interesting, scary, an immensely fulfilling life so far, and I want to keep that going. And I'd like other women who feel stuck or feel like they're getting to the end to not feel that way. The kids are growing up. Maybe the husband left. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you're done. Whatever it is, I've been there or close, and I do not always feel excited by the next steps. But I want to be excited for them, and I think that's half the battle. I want to embrace my inner, outer Crone, wart on my chin and all. I suppose I'm not really thrilled with the wart.